On the day the system blessed humanity, everyone's mana doubled. Everyone except me. Mine squared. Now, you might think that's worse. Double sounds bigger than squared, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. See, when the gods announced the great mana blessing, the entire kingdom celebrated. Every mage, every knight, every awakened individual would have their mana pools doubled overnight. A mage with 100 mana would wake up with 200. A knight with 50 would rise with 100. Simple multiplication. Fair distribution. Everyone benefits equally. But something went wrong with me. My name is Kale, 19 years old, the shame of the Ashford family. Born with a mana pool so pathetic that my own father pretended I didn't exist. My mana stat? 2. Not 200, not 20. 2. The average newborn has 15. The average adult has somewhere between 80 and 150. Talented mages push past 300. Geniuses touch 500. I had 2. For 19 years, I was trash. Lower than trash. A noble son who couldn't light a candle with magic. My younger brother, born 5 years after me, had already awakened with a mana pool of 212. He was the pride of the family. I was the mistake they wished they could erase. So when the great mana blessing arrived, nobody expected anything from me. Double of 2 is 4. What's the difference between 2 mana and 4 mana? Nothing. Still trash. Still useless. Still the embarrassment of the Ashford name. That's what everyone thought. That's what I thought. Until the blessing hit me. It was midnight. The sky cracked open with golden light. Divine energy poured down across the entire continent. Millions of people felt their mana pools surge. And in my tiny room in the servants' quarters, yes, my father had moved me to the servants' quarters 3 years ago, I felt something different. Not a doubling. A squaring. My mana didn't multiply by 2. It multiplied by itself. 2 times 2 equals 4. That's what the system should have shown. But when I opened my status window the next morning, my hands trembled. Mana 4. Okay, 4, expected. But there was a new line underneath. A line I'd never seen before. A line that made no sense. System notice. Blessing anomaly detected. Your mana growth has been flagged as exponential. Current growth formula, mana squared per blessing cycle. Next blessing cycle, 24 hours. Projected mana after next cycle, 16. I stared at those words. Blessing cycle, every 24 hours? My mana would square again tomorrow? 4 squared is 16. 16 squared is 256. 256 squared is 65,536. And that squared? Over 4 billion. I sat on my bed in the servants' quarters, doing math in my head, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. Everyone else got doubled once. I would square every single day. Within a week, my mana would exceed every living being on the continent. Within 2 weeks, I would surpass the ancient dragons. Within a month, I didn't know a number that big. A laugh escaped my throat, quiet at first, then louder, then manic. 19 years of humiliation. 19 years of being spat on, mocked, discarded, and now 1 plus 1 didn't equal 2. It equaled infinity. I didn't tell anyone. Why would I? 19 years had taught me one thing. In this family, information was ammunition. The moment my father learned I had something valuable, he'd find a way to take it. So I kept my mouth shut. The morning after the blessing, the entire Ashford estate was buzzing with excitement. Servants ran between buildings, carrying messages. Knights gathered in the training grounds, testing their new strength. Mages floated objects they couldn't lift yesterday. And my younger brother, Darren, stood in the center of the main courtyard, basking in worship. 424. The announcement echoed across the estate. Darren's mana had doubled from 212 to 424, a number that placed him among the top young talents in the entire kingdom. Father stood beside him, hand on his shoulder, chest puffed with pride. My son, he declared to the gathered crowd, a future archmage. The Ashford name will rise to new heights. Cheers erupted. I watched from the servants' quarters window, eating stale bread. 424. Impressive. For now. The first day passed slowly. I stayed in my room, avoiding everyone. Not difficult. Nobody wanted to see me anyway. I spent the hours meditating, trying to feel my mana. With only 4 points, there wasn't much to feel. A tiny spark, a candle flame in an ocean of darkness. But it was mine. And tomorrow, it would be 16. As midnight approached, I sat cross-legged on my bed, watching the clock on my wall. 11点58分. 11点59分. Midnight. System notice. Daily blessing cycle complete. Applying exponential growth formula. Previous mana, 4. New mana, 16. Next cycle, 24 hours. Projected mana, 256. The warmth hit me like a wave. Not overwhelming, not dramatic, just more. Where there had been a candle, now there was a torch. I raised my hand and tried the simplest spell I knew. A light orb. The most basic magic. Something children mastered by age 6. I'd never successfully cast it. Not once in 19 years. I focused, drew on the mana, shaped it. A sphere of soft white light materialized above my palm. It was small, flickering, pathetic by any normal standard. But it existed. For the first time in my life, I had performed magic. Tears streamed down my face. I didn't wipe them away. Day 2. I continued hiding, but now I had a purpose. 16 mana wasn't much, but it was enough to practice basic spells. I spent the entire day in my room, casting light orbs, making small gusts of wind, heating cups of water. Baby magic, infant-level techniques. But I was learning, building foundations that I'd never had the mana to attempt before. And every hour, I watched the clock. Midnight came. New mana, 256. The rush was stronger this time. My body shuddered. My veins felt like they were filled with lightning. The tiny room seemed to vibrate with contained power. 256 mana. More than my father's average night. I cast a light orb again. It wasn't small anymore. The sphere blazed to life, bright as a lantern, steady as a heartbeat. I could have read a book from across the room with this light. I laughed again. Quieter this time. Day 3. I couldn't stay hidden forever. The estate had mandatory morning assemblies. All family members were required to attend. Even the disgraced ones. Even me. I dressed in my worn clothes. I hadn't received new garments in years and walked to the main hall. The whispers started immediately. Look, it's the trash. Surprised he's still alive. Did you hear? His mana only went to 4 after the blessing. 4. Pathetic. Even the stable boys have more than that. I ignored them, found a corner, stood with my head down. Father was at the front, flanked by Darren and my stepmother, Lady Verena. The woman who'd replaced my birth mother and made it her mission to erase every trace of the first wife's existence. Including me. The Ashford family has been blessed, Father announced. Our total mana reserves have increased by 63%. We are now the 3rd strongest noble house in the region. Applause. However, his eyes swept the crowd, landed on me. We still have dead weight. Laughter. Kale. He said my name like it was a curse. Step forward. My heart pounded. I walked to the front, kept my expression blank. Display your status window for the assembly. A command, not a request. Noble children were trained to share their stats publicly. It was a point of pride. For me, it had always been humiliation. But things were different now. 256 mana. Still not impressive by noble standards, but enough to surprise them. I hesitated. If I revealed 256 now, questions would arise. How did I quadruple in 3 days when everyone else only doubled once? They'd investigate. They'd find out about the exponential growth. They'd try to take it from me. Or worse, they'd report me to the Mage Council as an anomaly. Have me studied, dissected. I made a decision. Mana display, custom. A trick I'd learned from years of watching others. Status windows could be partially hidden. Most people didn't bother because they wanted to show off. I wanted the opposite. The window that appeared above my head showed only one number. Mana, 4. Not a lie. 4 was technically still in my history. The system just prioritized older data. The hall erupted in mocking laughter. 4. Still 4. The blessing didn't even work on him properly. Maybe the gods know trash when they see it. Darren stepped forward, grinning. At 14, he was already taller than me. Better fed, better trained, better in every visible way. Brother, he made the word sound like an insult. Perhaps you should just leave. Save us all the embarrassment of your existence. I looked at him. For 19 years, I'd taken abuse from this family, kept my head down, accepted my role as the whipping boy. Not anymore. Perhaps, I said quietly, you should remember this moment, Darren. Remember how you laughed. His grin faltered. Just for a second. Is that a threat? He stepped closer. From you? 4 mana Kale? What are you going to do? Breathe on me. More laughter from the crowd. I smiled. I'm going to wait. Before he could respond, Father cut in. Enough. Kale, return to your duties. The rest of you, dismissed. I walked back to the servants' quarters. But I wasn't angry. I was counting hours. Day 4. New mana, 65,536. 65,000. The number hit me like a physical force. My body convulsed. Mana flooded through my veins, my muscles, my bones. It felt like being reborn, like every cell was being rewritten with pure energy. When the surge faded, I opened my eyes. The room was glowing. Not from a spell, from me. My skin emitted faint wisps of blue-white light. Mana was literally leaking out of my body because I had too much to contain. I checked my status. Mana, 65,536. Warning, mana exceeds physical vessel capacity. Automatic overflow protection engaged. Excess mana being converted to physical enhancement. Physical enhancement? I looked at my hands. They seemed different, stronger. The calluses from years of servant work were gone, replaced by smooth, powerful skin. I stood up. My body felt light, responsive, like a weapon that had finally been sharpened. I walked to the small mirror on my wall. The reflection that stared back wasn't the pale, malnourished trash of the Ashford family. It was someone else. Someone whose eyes glowed faintly with contained power. Someone dangerous. I couldn't hide anymore. Not because I wanted attention, but because 65,000 mana was impossible to suppress completely. Even with the overflow converting to physical stats, I was still radiating enough magical energy to trip detection wards. The estate's security team would notice, which meant I needed a plan. Option 1, run. Leave the estate. Disappear into the wilderness and grow stronger alone. Problem, I had no survival skills, no money, and no contacts. I'd be dead within a week. Option 2, reveal my power. Claim my rightful position as heir. Force the family to respect me. Problem, father would never accept it. He'd have me killed before admitting his trash son had surpassed everyone. Option 3, play weak. Hide in plain sight. Accumulate power until no one could challenge me. Problem, with this much mana, hiding was becoming impossible. I needed a middle ground. Somewhere I could grow openly without my family's interference. Somewhere talent mattered more than bloodline. The Royal Academy. It was the kingdom's premier institution for magical education. Entry was based purely on demonstrated ability. Even commoners could attend if they passed the entrance exam. And crucially, students were protected from family interference by royal decree. Once enrolled, I would be beyond father's reach. The entrance exam was in 3 days. My mana would be squaring twice more before then. 65536,9496,7296. That second number was over 4 billion. I didn't even know what came after 4 billion squared. But I was about to find out. Day 5. New mana. 4,294,967,296. 4 billion. The surge nearly killed me. I felt my consciousness fracture. My body burned from the inside. For one terrifying moment, I was certain I was going to explode, showering the servants' quarters with the chunky remains of the Ashford family disappointment. But the overflow protection kicked in. Emergency conversion initiated. Excess mana routing to physical enhancement, mental fortitude, spiritual awakening. New secondary stats unlocked. Strength, 847. Speed, 812. Endurance, 903. Mental resistance, max. Spiritual perception awakened. My eyes snapped open. I could see everything. Not just with my physical eyes, with something deeper, something beyond. The mana flows of the entire estate were visible to me now. Rivers of energy coursing through the ground, the walls, the people. I could see the knights training in the courtyard, their mana signatures flickering like candles. I could see the servants in the kitchen, their tiny sparks barely registering. And I could see my father in his study. His mana was respectable, maybe 2,000 total. The result of a lifetime of cultivation. To me, he looked like a firefly compared to the sun. I looked at my hands again. They didn't glow anymore. The overflow had stabilized, but I could feel the power coiled inside me, waiting, patient, unimaginably vast. 4 billion mana. And tomorrow, it would square again. I needed to leave. Now, I packed nothing. What was there to pack? I owned nothing worth keeping. Just the clothes on my back and 19 years of bad memories. I walked to the main gate. The guards stopped me. Where do you think you're going? Trash? 2 of them, low-level knights. Maybe 50 mana each after the blessing. I could have killed them with a thought. Instead, I smiled. I'm leaving, permanently. Does Lord Ashford know? He will soon enough. They exchanged glances, probably weighing whether to let me go or drag me back for punishment. Let him go, one finally said. Good riddance, less embarrassment for the family. They opened the gate. I walked out, didn't look back. The capital was 3 days' walk from the Ashford estate. I made it in 4 hours. Not walking, running. With my enhanced physical stats, I moved faster than horses, faster than messenger birds. The landscape blurred around me as I covered distances that should have been impossible. When I reached the capital gates, I wasn't even breathing hard. The guards barely glanced at me, just another traveler entering the city. They had no idea that the person walking past them had more mana than their entire kingdom combined. I found an inn, paid with a few copper coins I'd stolen from the estate's petty cash. Got a room. And then I waited for midnight. Day 6. New mana, 18 quintillion, 446 quadrillion, 744 trillion, 73 billion, 709,551,616. The number didn't fit on the status window. It had to scroll. 18 quintillion. I didn't even know what a quintillion was until that moment. The The surge was different this time. Not painful, not overwhelming, just infinite. I felt like I could reach out and touch the stars. Like the boundaries of my body were suggestions rather than limits. Like reality itself was waiting for my commands. System notice. Mana exceeds measurable parameters. Mana display switching to infinity. Congratulations, you have achieved mana singularity. All magical abilities unlocked. All magical restrictions removed. Warning, please use responsibly. I laughed at that last line. Use responsibly. Sure. Tell that to the people who spent 19 years telling me I was worthless. The Royal Academy entrance exam was tomorrow. I spent the day exploring the capital, eating real food for the first time in years, buying actual clothes that fit. With my enhanced appearance and confident bearing, shopkeepers treated me like nobility. Little did they know I was the disgraced son of a minor house who'd been sleeping in servants' quarters a week ago. Amazing what a few quintillion mana could do for your self-esteem. In the evening, I found a quiet park and practiced. Not basic spells anymore. Everything. I raised my hand and fire erupted. Not a candle flame. A pillar of inferno that shot 30 meters into the sky. I waved my other hand and water materialized from thin air, forming a sphere the size of a carriage. I stomped my foot and the earth rippled, forming walls, towers, entire structures at my command. I whispered a word and lightning cracked across the clear sky. Every element, every discipline, every magical technique I'd read about but never been able to perform. They all responded to me now, because mana was the foundation of all magic, and I had infinite mana. There were no limits anymore. That night, I returned to my in-room. Couldn't sleep. Tomorrow, I would walk into the Royal Academy entrance exam. Tomorrow, I would show the world what happens when you give power to someone you discarded. Tomorrow, I would begin my revenge. But first, I needed to decide something. How much power should I reveal? Showing everything would cause panic. The Mage Council would get involved. The kingdom would try to control me. Other nations might see me as a threat. Too little and I'd be underestimated. Placed in beginner classes. Treated like just another talented student. I needed a middle ground. Enough to earn respect. Not enough to cause international incidents. I decided on a strategy. Show the power of a genius. Top 1% talent. Impressive but not terrifying. Keep the real numbers hidden. Let them think I was strong. They didn't need to know I was infinite. Not yet. The morning of the exam. I woke at dawn, dressed in my new clothes. Simple but well-made. The look of a commoner with some money, not a noble. I didn't want anyone connecting me to the Ashford family. Not yet. The academy was in the center of the capital. A massive complex of towers, training grounds, libraries, and dormitories. Thousands of students from across the kingdom attended, and every year, hundreds more tried to get in. Today, over 300 applicants had gathered for the entrance exam. I joined the crowd, keeping my head down, observing. Most applicants looked nervous. Teenagers from merchant families, minor nobles, or talented commoners, all hoping to prove themselves. A few stood out. A tall girl with silver hair and ice-cold eyes. Her mana signature was impressive. Maybe 500 or 600. High noble, probably. A muscular boy with fire-red hair and a cocky grin. Around 400 mana. Knight family, judging by his stance. And my heart stopped. Across the courtyard, surrounded by admirers, stood Darren. My younger brother. He was here for the exam too. Of course he was. With 424 mana after the blessing, he was considered a prodigy. The Ashford family would have pulled strings to get him into the academy. He hadn't noticed me yet. Good. I pulled my collar higher and melted into the crowd. This was going to be interesting. The exam had 3 parts. Part 1, written test on magical theory. Part 2, mana measurement and aptitude assessment. Part 3, practical demonstration. The written test was easy. I'd spent 19 years reading. When you can't practice magic, books are your only companions. I knew more theory than most academy graduates. I finished in half the allotted time. The proctor looked surprised when I handed in my paper, but said nothing. Part 2 was trickier. Mana measurement would reveal my true power. The standard testing crystal would either show infinity or explode. Neither was ideal. When my turn came, I approached the measurement station with a plan. Place your hand on the crystal, the examiner said, bored. He'd done this hundreds of times today. I placed my hand, and very, very carefully I suppressed my mana. All of it. Every drop of that infinite ocean, compressed, hidden, locked away. What remained was a trickle, just enough to register. The crystal glowed. The examiner squinted at the readout. 912. Impressive. Certainly qualifies. 912. Top tier by normal standards. Not unbelievable. Perfect. I moved to part 3. The practical demonstration took place in the main arena. Applicants were called one by one to show their abilities. Attack a training dummy, defend against a spell, demonstrate control. I watched from the stands. The silver-haired girl went. Her name was Alara, apparently, daughter of Duke Varen. She froze the training dummy solid in 3 seconds, then shattered it with a flick of her wrist. Impressive. The red-haired boy Marcus, son of a famous knight commander, punched the dummy with a fire-enhanced fist and sent it flying across the arena. Also impressive. Then Darren's name was called. My brother strutted into the arena like he owned it. Darren Ashford, the announcer said, Mana, 424, specialty, wind magic. He raised his hand. Wind gathered around him, forming a visible vortex. The air screamed as he compressed it, shaped it, then released it as a blade that cut the training dummy clean in half. The crowd cheered. Darren bowed dramatically. I watched with no expression. Finally, my name was called. Kyle, no surname listed. Mana, 912, specialty, unknown. No surname. I deliberately omitted it. Whispers rippled through the crowd. 912? Who is this nobody? No family name. A commoner? With that much mana? Impossible. I walked into the arena and stopped dead. Darren was staring at me. His face had gone pale. You, he breathed. Hello, brother. The whispers exploded. Brother? He's an Ashford? The trash? 4 mana Kale? But the readout said 900. Darren's shock transformed into rage. You cheated. You must have. There's no way. Applicant Kale, the examiner interrupted, clearly uncomfortable with the family drama. Please begin your demonstration. I turned to face the training dummy. A new one had been placed, reinforced, ready for whatever I could throw at it. I could have done what the others did. A simple elemental attack. Strong enough to pass, weak enough to not stand out. But Darren was watching, and 19 years of humiliation demanded something more. I raised my hand. 5 elements answered. Fire, water, earth, wind, lightning. They materialized simultaneously, swirling around me in a perfect orbit. Each one distinct, yet harmonized. A feat that was supposed to be impossible without decades of training. The arena fell silent. Multi-elemental manifestation, someone gasped. At his age? I didn't stop. The 5 elements merged. They formed a sphere of composite energy, crackling with power, swirling with colors that didn't exist in nature. I pointed at the training dummy. Annihilate. The sphere shot forward. The dummy didn't break, didn't shatter, didn't burn. It simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there. The next, nothing. Not even ash. Complete atomic disintegration. The silence stretched. Then someone fainted. Then everyone started screaming. The arena remained frozen for a solid 10 seconds. Then chaos erupted. What was that? The dummy just vanished. Is that even possible? What kind of magic? Someone get the headmaster. I stood in the center of it all, hands still raised, expression calm. Perhaps I'd overdone it slightly. The examiners rushed toward me, their faces a mixture of fear and academic fascination. Behind them, I saw Darren still rooted in place, his face cycling through emotions like a broken clock. Shock, denial, rage, fear. Good. Remember this moment, little brother. Applicant Kale. The head examiner approached cautiously, like I was a wild animal that might attack. That technique. What was it called? I don't know. You don't know? I made it up. More silence. You made up a spell that can atomically disintegrate reinforced training equipment. Yes. The examiner turned to his colleagues. They exchanged looks that said they had absolutely no idea how to handle this situation. You pass, he finally said. Obviously. Please proceed to the enrollment office. I nodded and walked toward the exit. The crowd parted like I was carrying a plague. The enrollment office was a small building near the main administration tower. Inside, a bored-looking clerk sat behind a desk piled with paperwork. Name? She asked without looking up. Kale. Full name? Just Kale. She finally looked at me. Her eyes widened slightly. You're the one from the arena. The atomization spell. Word traveled fast. I'm the one from the arena. She cleared her throat and pulled out a fresh enrollment form. Right, well, let's get you registered. Age? 19. Previous magical education? Self-taught. Her pen stopped. Self-taught? With abilities like that? Books are excellent teachers. She stared at me for a long moment, then continued writing. Class assignment will be determined by the academic committee. Given your unique circumstances, you'll likely receive special placement. I'd prefer regular classes. Excuse me? Regular classes. First-year curriculum. No special treatment. She looked at me like I'd grown a second head. You just disintegrated a training dummy that's rated to withstand S-rank attacks. And you want to sit in beginner courses? I have gaps in my foundational knowledge. I'd like to fill them. Not entirely a lie. There was plenty of theory I'd never had the chance to practice. Might as well learn properly now that I had the mana to actually cast spells. Also, being in regular classes meant less scrutiny, less attention from high-ranking mages who might start asking uncomfortable questions about my power source. The clerk shrugged. Your choice. First-year dormitory is the East Building. Classes start tomorrow at 8. Here's your schedule and student identification. She handed me a small crystal card with my name etched into it. Kale. First year. Class Uno A. I pocketed the card and left. The first-year dormitory was a 4-story stone building with small rooms for individual students. Mine was on the 3rd floor. Plain bed, plain desk, plain wardrobe, luxury compared to the servants' quarters. I sat on the bed and checked my status. Mana, 8. Strength, 847. Speed, 812. Endurance, 903. Mental resistance, max. Spiritual perception, awakened. Still infinite, still absurd. Tomorrow my mana would square again. Not that it mattered. Infinity squared was still infinity. But the overflow conversion would continue. My physical stats would keep climbing. My abilities would keep expanding. At some point, I'd need to actually test my limits. But that was a problem for later. Tonight, I slept. For the first time in years, I slept peacefully. Morning came. I dressed in the academy uniform, black jacket, white shirt, gray trousers, and headed to the main lecture hall for first-year orientation. The hall was packed. Maybe 200 students, all chattering nervously about their new lives as academy mages. I found a seat in the back corner. Kept my head down. It didn't help. That's him. The one who vaporized the dummy. I heard he's actually an Ashford. The disowned one. No way, that trash? But his mana reading was over 900. Whispers followed me everywhere. I ignored them. The orientation speaker was a middle-aged woman with silver-streaked hair and sharp eyes. Professor Marin, head of the first-year curriculum. Welcome to the Royal Academy, she began. You are here because you demonstrated exceptional magical potential. But potential means nothing without discipline. She paced across the stage. Over the next 4 years, you will learn to control your abilities, expand your knowledge, and prepare for service to the kingdom. Some of you will become court mages. Some will join the military. Some will pursue research. All of you will work harder than you ever have before. Her eyes swept the crowd. And some of you will fail. The academy does not tolerate weakness or laziness. Those who cannot keep up will be expelled. No exceptions. She clapped her hands. Class assignments are posted in the main hall. Find your homeroom and report immediately. Dismissed. The students scattered. I already knew my assignment. Class 1A, the so-called elite class reserved for students with the highest entrance scores. I hadn't asked for elite placement, but apparently atomizing a dummy earned you automatic promotion regardless of preferences. Class 1A's homeroom was a smaller lecture hall on the 2nd floor of the main academic building. About 30 students were already seated when I arrived. I recognized a few faces from the entrance exam. Elara, the silver-haired ice mage, sat in the front row. Her posture was perfect, her expression cold. Duke's daughter probably thought she owned the place. Marcus, the fire-fisted knight's son, lounged in the middle seats, surrounded by what looked like a group of admirers. He spotted me and grinned. Hey, atomization guy, over here. I considered ignoring him, then decided that having at least one friendly face might be useful. I sat next to him. Marcus Brennan, he said, extending a hand. Son of Knight Commander Brennan. You're Kale, right? The mysterious commoner who turned out to be an Ashford. Former Ashford. I left the family. Left? Or got kicked out? Does it matter? He laughed. I guess not. Either way, that display yesterday was insane. You've got to teach me that technique. I can't. Why not? Because I don't know how I did it. That was actually true. The 5-element fusion had been instinctive. I'd simply wanted to show overwhelming power, and my mana had responded. With infinite mana, intention seemed to matter more than technique. Marcus looked disappointed but not deterred. Well, if you figure it out, I'm first in line. Deal? Deal. A commotion at the door caught my attention. Darren had arrived. He walked in flanked by 2 other students' nobles, judging by their bearing and expensive accessories. His eyes scanned the room until they landed on me. Hatred. Pure, undiluted hatred. He stalked toward my seat. Marcus tensed beside me. Uh-oh. Family drama incoming. Darren stopped in front of my desk, looming. You, he hissed. How dare you show your face here? I looked up at him calmly. I passed the entrance exam. Same as you. You cheated. You must have. There's no way a 4-mana piece of trash could. My mana reading was 912. You can check the official records. Lies. The crystal was malfunctioning. Then demand a retest. I'll take it right now. In front of everyone. That shut him up. He couldn't demand a retest, because deep down, he knew what he'd seen in the arena was real. Knew that somehow, impossibly, I had surpassed him. And that terrified him. "This isn't over," he spat. "I don't know how you did it, but I'll expose you. I'll prove you're a fraud." Looking forward to it, he turned and stormed to a seat on the opposite side of the room. Marcus let out a low whistle. "Damn, your family reunions must be fun. You have no idea." The homeroom teacher arrived. Professor Aldrich, tall, thin, with a closely trimmed beard and eyes that seemed to see through everything. He was a renowned battle mage, according to the whispers. Retired from active service after losing his left arm in the Demon War. His remaining hand crackled with ambient lightning as he surveyed the class. "Class 1A, he said. "The elite, the talented, the privileged." His tone made clear he didn't consider any of those things compliments. "You're here because you scored higher than your peers. But scores mean nothing in a real fight. I've seen geniuses die to goblins because they couldn't handle pressure. I've seen average mages become legends through sheer determination." He tapped the desk with his finger, and a small lightning bolt scorched the surface. "In this class, you will learn 3 things: combat, survival, humility. If you can't master all 3, you won't graduate." He began calling names. "Ashford, Darren. Present. Brennan, Marcus. Here. Kale. Present." Professor Aldrich paused. His eyes locked onto mine. "The atomization boy. I watched your entrance exam." The room went quiet. "That technique you used, it wasn't any registered spell, wasn't any known magical formula. Care to explain how a self-taught first year created something that 3 archmages spent the last night trying to analyze?" Every eye in the room was on me. "I have high mana capacity," I said. "Sometimes raw power compensates for lack of technique. 912 isn't high enough to brute force atomic disintegration." Damn, he was sharp. Perhaps the measurement crystal was conservative. His eyes narrowed. "Perhaps we'll be keeping an eye on you, Kale. A close eye." He moved on to the next name. I kept my expression neutral, but internally, I was already planning. Professor Aldrich suspected something. He wouldn't be the last. I needed to be more careful about displaying power. Needed to establish a believable ceiling. 912 mana. That was my official number. Everything I did needed to fit within that limit, at least publicly. The first week of classes passed quickly. Morning lectures on magical theory. Afternoon practical sessions. Evening self-study. I excelled at theory, obviously. 19 years of reading had given me a knowledge base that surprised even the professors. Practicals were trickier. I had to deliberately limit myself. Cast spells at 900 mana power levels instead of infinity. Make mistakes that a talented but inexperienced student would make. It was exhausting. Not physically. Physically, I could have run laps around the continent without breaking a sweat. Mentally exhausting. Constantly calculating how much power to reveal. Constantly monitoring reactions. Constantly pretending to be something I wasn't. But it worked. By the end of the first week, I'd established a reputation as a talented first year with exceptional raw power but inconsistent control. Strong enough to respect. Not strong enough to fear. Perfect. Friday evening. I was in the library, researching advanced mana theory, when someone sat across from me, Elara Varen, the Ice Duke's daughter. She placed a book on the table between us. "You're hiding something." No greeting, no small talk, just straight to accusations. I didn't look up from my book. "Everyone hides something. Your mana signature fluctuates. I've been watching you all week. Sometimes it reads at 900, sometimes it spikes much higher. You're suppressing your true power." Clever girl. "And if I am? Then I want to know why." She leaned forward. "You're not just talented, Kale. You're something else, something that shouldn't exist. I want to understand what. Maybe I'm just shy." "You atomized a training dummy to make a point to your brother. That's not shy, that's calculated." I finally looked up. Her ice blue eyes studied me without warmth. This wasn't curiosity. It was analysis. She was trying to determine if I was a threat. "What do you want, Elara?" "An alliance." "Not what I expected." "Explain." "The Academy is divided into factions. Noble families, merchant coalitions, regional alliances. Everyone is jockeying for position. Power attracts followers. Mystery attracts enemies. And you think I need protection? I think you need someone who understands politics." She tilted her head. "And I think I need someone whose power ceiling I can't see. We'd complement each other." "What's in it for you?" "Access to whatever you're hiding. When you eventually reveal it, I want to be on your side rather than against you." Smart, cold, calculating. I respected that. "I'll consider it." "Don't take too long." She stood. "The Academy ranking tournament is in 2 weeks. Every first year participates. It will be much harder to hide your true abilities in direct combat." She walked away. I watched her go. Ranking tournament. I'd read about it in the Academy handbook. Single elimination brackets. Students fight until one submits or is incapacitated. Final rankings determine class placement, resource allocation, and social status. In other words, a public stage where hiding would be nearly impossible. I needed a new strategy. The next morning, I woke to a notification. System notice, daily blessing cycle complete. Current mana, infinity, overflow conversion applied. New stats, strength 1203, speed 1187, endurance 344. New ability unlocked, absolute territory. Absolute territory? I focused on the new ability and information flooded my mind. Absolute territory creates a zone where the users will supersede all other magical effects. Within this zone, enemy spells are nullified, physical laws can be altered, and reality responds directly to users' intention. Range, scales with mana. Duration, unlimited. Cost, mana negligible for current user. I stared at the ceiling. This was beyond magic. This was authority over reality itself. I sat up and extended my hand. Activated absolute territory with minimal range just a few centimeters around my palm. The air shimmered. I willed gravity to reverse within that tiny zone. A pen on my desk shot upward and stuck to my palm as if magnetized. I willed time to slow. The dust motes in the air froze mid-float. I willed light to bend. My hand became invisible. Holy shit. I deactivated the ability. The pen fell. The dust resumed floating. My hand reappeared. With infinite mana, I could theoretically extend this zone to, what? The entire academy? The entire kingdom? I could rewrite reality on a continental scale, and the system called this cost negligible. I needed to be very, very careful about using this ability. But first, I needed to win a tournament. The next 2 weeks were a blur of preparation. Classes continued. I maintained my facade of talented but limited. But in private, in the dead of night when no one was watching, I experimented. Absolute territory was just the beginning. The daily overflow conversions kept unlocking new abilities. Ability unlocked, spatial manipulation, teleportation, and dimensional folding. Ability unlocked, temporal sight, seeing possible futures. Ability unlocked, soul reading, perceiving the true nature of beings. Each morning brought new powers, new possibilities, new ways to break the world. I was becoming less human with each passing day, and I wasn't sure how I felt about that. 3 days before the tournament, I was practicing alone in one of the academy's private training rooms when the door burst open. Darren stood in the entrance, flanked by 5 other students. Found you. I lowered my hand, canceling the simple fire spell I'd been casting. Can I help you? You can die. He stepped into the room. Or you can confess that you cheated at the entrance exam and withdraw from the academy. Why would I do either of those things? Because if you don't, we'll make you. The 5 students behind him spread out, forming a semicircle. I recognized a few from Class 1A, nobles. Darren's new cronies. You really want to do this? I asked. Here? In the academy? Training accidents happen all the time. Darren grinned. You attacked us first. We defended ourselves. You got hurt. Tragic, really. He raised his hand. Wind began gathering. The others prepared their own spells. Fire, earth, lightning, water, ice. 6 against 1. In the enclosed training room, with no witnesses. They thought they had me cornered. I almost felt bad for them. Almost. Last chance, I said. Walk away. Forget this happened. I won't retaliate. Darren laughed. You won't retaliate? You won't have the chance. He thrust his hand forward. The wind blade shot toward me. I didn't move. Didn't need to. I activated absolute territory. The wind blade hit the zone's edge and stopped. Just stopped. Frozen in midair, 1 inch from my face. Darren's laughter died. What? My turn. I willed the wind blade to reverse. It shot back toward Darren at triple speed. He barely dodged, the blade carving a gash across his cheek. Blood sprayed. Attack! He screamed. 5 spells launched simultaneously. Fire, earth, lightning, water, ice. All of them stopped at the boundary of my territory. I looked at the frozen attacks, suspended in air around me like a deadly art installation. Here's what's going to happen, I said calmly. You're going to leave. You're going to never bother me again. And in exchange, I won't redirect these spells into your faces. You're bluffing, one of the nobles said. His voice shook. No one can do what you're doing. And yet here we are. Darren clutched his bleeding cheek, eyes wild. This isn't over, he hissed. The tournament. I'll destroy you in the tournament, in front of everyone. Looking forward to it. I released the spells. They dissipated harmlessly. The 6 of them fled. I stood alone in the training room, surrounded by scorch marks and shattered floor tiles. 3 days until the tournament. 3 days until I showed my brother exactly how far the gap between us had grown. The night before the tournament, I sat on the academy roof, looking at the stars. Alara found me there. Couldn't sleep? She asked, sitting beside me. Too much on my mind. The tournament? Among other things. She was quiet for a moment. I heard about what happened in the training room, with your brother and his friends. News traveled fast. And I think you're going to win tomorrow, easily. But I also think you're going to reveal more than you intend to. Maybe I want to reveal more. She looked at me sharply. Why? I thought about the question. Why? Why show power? Why seek recognition? Why not simply stay hidden, grow stronger in secret, avoid all the complications of politics and rivalry? Because I spent 19 years being invisible. Because I spent 19 years being told I was nothing. Because somewhere deep inside, beneath all the strategic calculation, I wanted them to know. I wanted everyone to know. Because hiding is exhausting, I finally said, and I'm tired. Elora nodded slowly. Then don't hide. Win. Show them something they'll never forget. She stood. I'll be watching. Try not to destroy too much academy property. She left. I looked back at the stars. Tomorrow, the tournament. Tomorrow, the world would learn what happens when infinity enters the battlefield. Tournament day. The academy's main arena had been transformed overnight. Massive stands surrounded the central fighting pit. Magical barriers shimmered in the air, protecting spectators from stray attacks. Flags bearing the academy's crest fluttered in the wind. And people, thousands of them, not just students, faculty, nobles from across the kingdom, military officials, even members of the royal court. The first-year ranking tournament was apparently a major social event. I stood in the competitor waiting area, watching through a gap in the curtain as the stands filled. Nervous? Marcus appeared beside me, bouncing on his heels. No. Liar. Everyone's nervous before their first tournament. He grinned. I've been training for this my whole life. Finally get to show what the Brennan family's fire techniques can really do. Good luck. You too, though I don't think you'll need it. He punched my shoulder lightly. Try not to atomize anyone, yeah? The paperwork would be a nightmare. He jogged off to join his own preparation area. I watched him go. Then I checked the tournament bracket. 248 participants. Single elimination. 8 rounds to the finals. My first opponent, a minor noble named Reginald Hurst. Mana reading, 183. Easy. My potential second opponent, either Marcus or a water mage named Celine. Third round possibilities included Darren's bracket. If everything went according to seeding, I would face my brother in the quarterfinals. Perfect. The opening ceremony was mercifully short. The academy headmaster, an ancient woman named Grand Mage Aurelia, gave a brief speech about honor, growth, and the proud tradition of magical combat. Then the fights began. The first few rounds were chaos. 8 arenas operated simultaneously to process the massive bracket. Spells flew. Students screamed. Some matches ended in seconds. Others dragged on for 20 minutes. My first match came an hour into the tournament. Arena 3, Kale versus Reginald Hurst. I walked into the fighting pit. Reginald was a pudgy boy with an arrogant sneer. He clearly thought this would be an easy win against a no-name commoner. So you're the entrance exam freak, he said, raising his wand. Let's see if your parlor tricks work against real combat magic. The referee raised his hand. Fighters ready? Reginald nodded. I nodded. Begin. Reginald launched a fireball. I didn't dodge, didn't counter. I just stood there. The fireball hit my chest and did nothing. My passive mana overflow had pushed my endurance past 1300. Low-level fire magic felt like a warm breeze. Reginald's face went pale. What? I flicked my finger. A tiny pulse of force, barely 1% of my capability, hit his chest. He flew backward, crashed into the arena barrier, and collapsed unconscious. The referee stared. The crowd stared. Winner, Cowell. I walked out of the arena. Time elapsed, 4 seconds. The next 3 rounds followed the same pattern. Round 2, a wind mage tried to slice me with air blades. They bounced off my skin. I put him down with a casual palm strike. Round 3, an earth mage summoned a stone golem. I punched through it, then through him, non-lethally, mostly. Round 4, a defensive specialist created 7 layers of magical barriers. I walked through all of them like they were paper curtains and tapped his forehead. He fainted from terror. 4 wins. Total combat time, less than 2 minutes. The whispers were no longer whispers. He's not even casting spells. His physical abilities shouldn't be possible for a mage. What is he? I ignored them all, because the quarterfinals were about to begin, and across the arena, Darren was waiting. Quarterfinal match 3, Kale versus Darren Ashford. The announcement echoed through the arena. The crowd went silent. Everyone knew the story by now. The trash son, the prodigy brother, the family drama that had spilled into public view. I stepped into the central arena, the main stage, where the final rounds were held. Darren was already there. His face was a mask of cold fury. The cut on his cheek from our training room encounter had healed, but the humiliation clearly hadn't. "No hiding this time," he said quietly. "No tricks. No running away. Just you and me, brother." "I never ran away, Darren. I walked. There's a difference." His eye twitched. The referee stepped between us. "This is a quarterfinal match. Standard rules apply. Fight ends when one combatant surrenders, is incapacitated, or the referee calls the match. Lethal force is prohibited, but accidents happen. Understood?" We both nodded. "Fighters ready?" Darren raised his hands. Wind gathered around him, far more intense than during the entrance exam. He'd been training hard. I stood with my arms at my sides. "Begin." Darren didn't hesitate. Storm King's wrath. The wind around him exploded outward. Not just blades this time. A full hurricane, concentrated and directed entirely at me. Debris flew. The arena floor cracked. The barrier protecting spectators flickered under the strain. 424 mana, pushed to its absolute limit. It was genuinely impressive. For normal standards. I raised one hand. "Stop." The hurricane stopped. Not gradually. Not because it ran out of power. It just stopped. The wind hung frozen in the air, suspended by my will alone. Absolute territory. Minimal range. Maximum effect. Darren's face went white. What did you?" I released the wind. It dissipated harmlessly. My turn. I didn't attack. I walked. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. Darren launched another spell. A concentrated wind lance aimed directly at my heart. I caught it with my bare hand. The compressed air struggled against my grip, screaming with contained force. I squeezed. It popped like a balloon. "You've gotten stronger since the blessing," I said conversationally, still walking. 424 mana is impressive. Top 1% of the kingdom's youth. I was 5 meters away now. "But you made a mistake, Darren. 3 meters. You assumed doubling was the best possible outcome. 1 meter. You never considered that someone might receive something different." I stood directly in front of him. He tried to back away. His legs wouldn't move. Absolute territory, holding him in place. What are you?" His voice cracked. The arrogance was gone. Only terror remained. "I'm your older brother." I leaned close. "The one you spent 14 years mocking. 14 years bullying. 14 years treating like garbage." My voice dropped to a whisper. "And now, I'm infinite." I tapped his forehead. Just a tap, barely any force. But I channeled a sliver of my mana into the contact. Just enough to overwhelm his system. Darren's eyes rolled back. He collapsed like a puppet with cut strings. The arena was silent. Absolutely silent. Then the referee's voice cracked through the stillness. "Winner, Kale." I turned and walked away. Behind me, medics rushed to check on Darren. He was alive. Unconscious, but alive. His mana circuits were temporarily overloaded. He'd wake up in a few hours with a splitting headache. But he'd remember. For the rest of his life, he'd remember this moment. The semi-final bracket was announced. Kale versus Marcus Brennan. Elara Varen versus a talented water mage named Celine. Marcus found me in the waiting area, his expression complicated. "So, we're fighting." "Looks like it. I saw what you did to your brother." He ran a hand through his fiery hair. "That wasn't magic, Kale. That was, I don't even know what that was." "Will you surrender?" "Hell no." He grinned, though it was strained. "I'm Marcus Brennan, son of the Knight Commander. I've never surrendered in my life and I'm not starting now." "Then I'll try to make it quick." "Please don't." He laughed. "At least give me the dignity of looking like I put up a fight." I actually smiled at that. "I'll see what I can do." Semifinal 1. Kale versus Marcus Brennan. The crowd was electric. After my display against Darren, everyone wanted to see more. What would the mysterious commoner do against the Knight Commander's son? Marcus entered the arena like a warrior born. Flames danced around his fists. His eyes blazed with determination. I entered like I was taking a walk. "Fighters ready? Begin." Marcus charged. His combat style was different from Darren's. Where my brother relied on ranged magic, Marcus was a brawler. Close quarters combat enhanced by fire magic. Fast, brutal, effective. His flaming fist shot toward my face. I could have stopped it with absolute territory. Could have frozen him in place. Could have ended this in 1 second like all my other matches. Instead, I blocked. Actually raised my arm and blocked his punch. The impact sent shockwaves through the arena. The floor cracked beneath my feet. Marcus's eyes widened. "You're actually fighting me?" "You asked for dignity." I pushed back against his fist. "This is me giving it." His grin returned, fiercer than before. "Then let's go." We fought. Actually fought. Marcus was good. Really good. His fire techniques were refined through generations of family tradition. His combat instincts were honed by years of training. He landed hits on me. Actual hits. My body absorbed them without damage, but he didn't know that. I hit back, pulled punches that could have shattered mountains, made them look normal, made them look like we were evenly matched. The crowd roared. Incredible. They're both monsters. This is the best match of the tournament. We danced across the arena. Fire and force, speed and power. After 5 full minutes of exchange, I decided it was time. I caught Marcus's final punch. Good fight, I said. Then I threw him, not violently, a controlled toss that sent him sliding across the arena floor. He rolled, tried to rise, but his body had reached its limit. I can't. He collapsed onto his back, panting. Damn, I really wanted to win. He raised his hand. I surrender. The crowd exploded. I walked over and extended my hand. He took it. Let me pull him up. You held back the whole time. He murmured so only I could hear. Maybe. One day you'll tell me what you really are. One day. The referee announced my victory. I helped Marcus limp off the arena floor. In the stands, I noticed several people who hadn't been there before. Officials in royal blue uniforms, military insignia on their shoulders. They were watching me very carefully. Semi-final 2. Elara Varan versus Selena Tideborn. Ice against water. It was a beautiful match. Celine's fluid combat style versus Elara's precise, devastating ice magic. They traded blows for nearly 15 minutes. In the end, Elara won. She froze the entire arena floor, disrupted Celine's water control, and landed a decisive combination that left her opponent encased in ice up to her neck. Celine surrendered. The finals were set. Kyle versus Elara. The final match was scheduled for sunset. Golden light bathed the arena as the stands reached maximum capacity. Word had spread beyond the academy. Nobles from across the capital had come to witness the conclusion. I saw royal banners in the highest seats. The king himself might be watching. Elara met me in the waiting area before we took the stage. So, she said, here we are. I've been analyzing you all tournament. Your fighting style, your abilities, your limitations. She paused. I haven't found any limitations. Maybe you weren't looking hard enough. Maybe you don't have any. Her ice blue eyes met mine. I know I can't beat you, Kale. Whatever you're hiding, it's beyond anything I can match. But I need to see it for myself. In the finals, no holding back. You want me to go all out? I want you to show me what infinity looks like. We stared at each other. Careful what you wish for, I said finally. She smiled. First genuine smile I'd seen from her. Always am. Finals. Kyle versus Elara Farron. The crowd was hushed. Anticipation hung in the air like static before a storm. We took our positions. The referee looked between us, clearly nervous. Final match of the first-year ranking tournament. Standard rules apply. Are the fighters ready? Elara raised her hand. Ice crystals formed in the air around her, orbiting like frozen satellites. I stood still, hands at my sides. Begin. Elara moved first, but she didn't attack. She created. Ice spread from her feet, coating the entire arena floor. Spikes erupted in patterns. Walls formed. Towers rose. In seconds, the flat arena became a frozen labyrinth. Ice Fortress Domain. I recognized the spell from my reading, an advanced technique that usually required a mage in their 3rd or 4th year. Elara had mastered it at 17. Come find me. Her voice echoed through the frozen maze. I smiled. Then I walked into the labyrinth. The maze was designed to disorient. Paths twisted. Dead ends appeared. The walls shifted constantly, reconfiguring to trap invaders. I ignored all of it. Absolute territory. The ice around me dissolved. Not melted, dissolved. Unmade at the molecular level. I walked in a straight line, reality bending to accommodate my path. Walls disappeared. Towers crumbled. The labyrinth parted before me like water around a stone. I found Elara at the center, standing on a pedestal of ice. Her eyes widened slightly. You just walked through. I don't like mazes. What happened to no holding back? I considered her words. She was right. She'd asked for everything. And so far, I'd only shown efficient brutality, not true power. Fine. Close your eyes, I said. What? Close your eyes for 3 seconds. When you open them, you'll see what you asked for. She hesitated, then complied. I reached deep inside myself, past the suppression, past the limitations I'd imposed, past the careful calculations of what was safe to show. I touched infinity, and I let it out. Elara opened her eyes, and she fell to her knees. Not from force, not from attack, from awe. The arena was gone. The academy was gone. We stood in space. Stars wheeled around us. Galaxies spiraled in the distance. Nebulae painted the void with impossible colors. And beneath us, visible in its entirety, was the world. The entire planet, continents, oceans, clouds, all of it. This is what you wanted to see, I said. My voice echoed across the cosmos. This is what infinity looks like. Elara couldn't speak, could barely breathe. Tears streamed down her face. We're not really in space, I continued. This is a constructed reality. Absolute territory expanded to its fullest extent, overlaying my perception onto yours. But what you're seeing is accurate. The world from above. The scale of existence. I gestured. The view zoomed in. The kingdom became visible. Then the capital. Then the academy. Then the arena, where thousands of spectators sat frozen in time, unaware that two fighters had briefly stepped outside of normal reality. You're not just strong, Elara whispered. You're infinite, I confirmed. The word isn't a metaphor. I released the effect. Reality snapped back. We stood in the arena, surrounded by Elara's crumbling ice labyrinth. The crowd gasped as the frozen structures collapsed simultaneously. Elara was still on her knees. The referee looked between us uncertainly. Do you surrender? I asked gently. She looked up at me. Her ice blue eyes held something I'd never seen before. Worship. I surrender. The aftermath was chaos. Winner and first-year champion Kale. The announcement triggered a wave of noise. Cheering, shouting, screaming. But not everyone was celebrating. I saw the royal observers speaking urgently into communication crystals. I saw Professor Aldrich pushing through the crowd toward me. I saw my father when had he arrived, staring at me with an expression I'd never seen on his face before. Fear. I stepped off the arena floor. Marcus was the first to reach me, slapping my back despite his own injuries. You absolute madman, what did you do at the end there? Elara looked like she'd seen God. Something like that. Professor Aldrich arrived next. His remaining hand gripped my shoulder. My office, now. Not a request. I followed him. The professor's office was cluttered with books, artifacts, and old campaign maps. He closed the door and activated a privacy ward. What are you? No preamble. No politeness. A student, I said. Don't play games with me, boy. Lightning crackled around his remaining hand. I've been a battle mage for 40 years. I've seen archmages at the peak of their power. I've witnessed divine interventions. What you did in that arena wasn't magic. It was something else entirely. It was magic. The girl was catatonic for 15 seconds. When she recovered, she surrendered immediately and hasn't stopped crying since. What did you show her? The truth. Which is, I considered lying, considered deflecting. But I was tired of hiding. My mana is infinite, I said, not figuratively. Literally. The system blessing glitched for me. Everyone else's mana doubled. Mine squared and kept squaring. Every day. Aldrich's face went pale. That's impossible. And yet, I let a fraction of my suppression slip. The room flooded with power. Not aggressive, just present. A vast ocean of mana, contained within human form. Aldrich staggered back. His lightning flickered and died, overwhelmed. Gods preserve us, he whispered. I pulled my power back in. I'm not your enemy, Professor. I'm just a student who wants to learn. The glitch gave me power, but not knowledge, not experience. I need this academy. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he laughed. It was a broken, disbelieving laugh. A student, you're a walking apocalypse and you want to attend classes. Yes. Do you have any idea what will happen when word of this spreads? The kingdom will try to control you. Other nations will try to acquire you. The church will call you a demon. The Mage Council will demand your dissection. Then don't let word spread. How? You just demonstrated godlike power in front of thousands of witnesses. Elara won't talk. She's too smart to reveal something she can't control. The crowd saw her surrender after a few seconds of staring into space. Strange, but not inexplicable. And the only person who knows the truth. I looked at him. Is you? Aldrich met my gaze. The old battle mage. The veteran of impossible wars. The man who'd lost an arm fighting demons. Slowly, he nodded. The kingdom is facing a crisis, he said quietly. Something from beyond the borders. Something that's already destroyed 3 nations. The royals are keeping it quiet, but the military knows. We've been preparing. What kind of crisis? The kind that ends civilizations. He sat heavily in his chair. I came to this academy because I hope to find talented students, future soldiers for the war to come. But you, he looked at me with new eyes. You might be the only thing that can stop it. Professor Aldrich poured 2 glasses of amber liquid from a dusty bottle. Dragonfire whiskey, 60 years old. I was saving it for my retirement or my death, whichever came first. He slid 1 glass toward me. Given what I'm about to tell you, death seems more likely now. I took the glass but didn't drink. The threat, explain. Aldrich downed his whiskey in 1 gulp, poured another. 18 months ago, the Valoran Empire went silent. Valoran, the largest nation on the eastern continent, population of 40 million, 3 archmages. An army of 200,000 trained battle mages. Silent? No communications, no trade, no refugees, nothing. He stared into his glass. We sent scouts. The first team never returned. The second team sent back one message before going dark. What did it say? 2 words. His voice dropped. They're coming. A chill ran down my spine. Not from fear, from anticipation. 3 months later, the Confederacy of Free Cities fell. Same pattern. Silence, then nothing. Then the Thornwood Kingdom. Then the Obsidian Isles. He pulled out a map. Red X marks covered nearly a third of the known world. 4 nations. Over 100 million people. Gone in less than a year. Gone how? Dead? Conquered? We don't know. That's the terrifying part. He pointed to the eastern edge of our kingdom's border. What we do know is that whatever's doing this is moving west. At current speed, it will reach our borders in approximately 4 months. 4 months. I did the math. 4 months of daily mana squaring. Not that it mattered. I was already infinite, but the overflow conversions would continue. My physical stats, my abilities, my comprehension of reality itself would keep expanding. By the time this threat arrived, I didn't know what I would be, but it would be enough. Why are you telling me this? I asked. I'm a first-year student. Officially. Because officially doesn't matter anymore. Aldrich leaned forward. The royal family has been quietly building a response force. Elite mages, legendary warriors, ancient artifacts. Everything we can gather. But even with all that, he shook his head. We received one more piece of intelligence last month. A dying scout from the Thornwood Kingdom somehow made it across the border. He lived for 6 hours, long enough to describe what he saw. And? He said the sky was wrong. The stars had changed. The very laws of magic had been rewritten. Aldrich's voice cracked. He said they weren't invading. They were replacing. Overwriting our reality with their own. Reality overwriting. My hand tightened on the glass. That sounded familiar. My absolute territory could do something similar. Impose my will on local reality. But if there was an entity that could do that on a continental scale. You think I can stop this? I think you're the only thing that might be able to stop this. He met my eyes. Your power isn't just magical, Kale. It's conceptual. You don't cast spells. You redefine what's possible. That's exactly what we need against an enemy that rewrites reality. I stood, walked to the window, looked out at the academy grounds where students were still celebrating the tournament's conclusion. They had no idea. None of them knew that extinction was 4 months away. What do you need from me? For now, keep growing, keep learning. The Royal Response Force will handle preliminary defenses. When the enemy reaches our borders, when we see what we're actually fighting. He paused. That's when I'll call you. I turned back to him. I'll be ready. The next morning, I woke to knocking on my door. Not polite knocking, urgent hammering. I opened it to find Elara and Marcus standing in the hallway, both looking agitated. We need to talk, Elara said. Now. I let them in. Marcus immediately started pacing. Elara remained still, but her hands were trembling slightly. What happened? I asked. I've been having dreams, Elara said quietly. Since the finals, since you showed me that. Dreams? Visions. Of darkness spreading across the land. Of stars going out one by one. Of something vast and hungry approaching from the east. She hugged herself. I've never had prophetic abilities before, but whatever you did to me in that arena, it awakened something. Temporal sight. My ability to see possible futures. Had I accidentally transferred a fragment of it to her? What did you see specifically? A war, not between nations, between realities. Her voice shook. I saw our world being consumed, layer by layer, person by person, and at the center of it all. She looked at me. I saw you, standing alone against the void. The last light in infinite darkness. Heavy stuff for a Tuesday morning. Marcus stopped pacing. I don't have visions or whatever, he said, but I'm not an idiot. Something's wrong. The tournament should have been the biggest news in the kingdom. Instead, my father sent me an encrypted message last night telling me to prepare for deployment. Knight Commander Marcus Brennan Sr. doesn't talk about deployment unless there's a war coming. They both stared at me. You know something, Elara said. You've known for a while. Tell us. I considered my options. These two had proven themselves. Marcus with his loyalty. Elara with her intelligence. If I was going to face a reality-warping apocalypse, I'd need allies I could trust. Sit down, I said. This is going to take a while. I told them everything. The mana squaring glitch. The infinite power. The continental threat. Aldrich's briefing. When I finished, neither of them spoke for a long moment. Then Marcus laughed. Of course the guy who can atomize training dummies also has to save the world from eldritch horrors. Why would anything be simple? Elara was more composed. The visions make sense now. Whatever's coming operates on a level beyond normal magic. My awakened perception must be picking up on its approach. She paused. You'll need support. logistics, intelligence, people you can trust. Are you offering? We're insisting, Marcus said. You think I'm going to let you have all the fun? The Brennan family has been waiting generations for a war worthy of our flames. This sounds like it qualifies. And the Varen family has access to information networks across multiple nations, Elara added. I can find out more about what happened to the fallen countries, survivors, witnesses, anything that might give us an advantage. I looked at them, a fire warrior and an ice mage, opposites in every way. But they were here, they believed me, they wanted to help. All right, I said, we're a team. Marcus grinned. Elara nodded solemnly. Our alliance was formed. 2 days later, I received an unexpected visitor. I was leaving afternoon classes when I sensed the mana signature. Familiar, unwelcome. My father stood in the academy's main courtyard. Lord Ashford, head of a minor noble family, the man who'd thrown me into servants' quarters, the man who'd wished I'd never been born. And now he was here, surrounded by attendants, wearing his finest robes, with a smile plastered across his face. Kale, my son. He spread his arms wide as if expecting a hug. I stopped 10 feet away. Lord Ashford. Please, call me father. We're family, after all. His smile didn't waver, but I could see the strain behind it. I came as soon as I heard about your performance in the tournament. Champion, first in your year. I always knew you had potential. The lie was so blatant I almost laughed. You knew I had potential, I repeated flatly. Is that why you moved me to servants' quarters? Why you denied me education, training, proper food? Why you let Darren and his mother treat me like garbage for 14 years? Lord Ashford's smile flickered. There were circumstances, political pressures. Your stepmother insisted. My stepmother insisted, and you agreed because I was an embarrassment. A 4-mana stain on the Ashford name. That's not. And now that I'm valuable, now that I'm powerful, you want to reconcile. I stepped closer. Let me guess. You want me to come home, take my rightful place as heir, bring glory to the family. His silence confirmed it. How much glory were you hoping for? A court position for yourself? Trade advantages? Maybe a marriage alliance with a higher-ranking house using me as the bargaining chip? You're being unreasonable. I'm being accurate. I let a sliver of my power leak out. Just a sliver. The air around us grew heavy. The attendants stumbled backward. Lord Ashford's face went pale as he felt the pressure. Here's what's going to happen, I said softly. You're going to leave. You're going to return to the Ashford estate, and you're going to forget you ever had a firstborn son. You can't. I can do anything I want. I leaned close. I could unmake your entire estate with a thought. I could erase the Ashford name from history. I could make it so you never existed and no one would ever remember you. His eyes widened with terror. But I won't, because despite everything, I don't actually care about you. Not anymore. You're not worth the effort of revenge. I released the pressure. Go home, Lord Ashford. Tell everyone the truth. Tell them Kale Ashford is dead. There's only Kale now, nothing more. He fled, practically ran to his carriage, attendants scrambling after him. I watched him go, felt nothing. 19 years of pain, and at the end of it, I felt nothing. Maybe that was the worst part. That night, I received another visitor. This one I didn't sense coming. I was meditating in my room when the shadows in the corner began to move. They coalesced, thickened, formed a humanoid shape. A woman emerged from the darkness. Tall, elegant, deathly pale skin and eyes like pools of ink. She wore robes that seemed woven from midnight itself. Level? Status unreadable. Warning, entity origin unknown. Exercise extreme caution. The system couldn't read her. That had never happened before. Kale. Her voice was silk and shadows. We finally meet. I was on my feet instantly, power flooding my body. Who are you? A friend or an enemy? The choice is yours. She smiled, revealing teeth slightly too sharp. My name is Nixara. I represent interested parties. What parties? Those who watch the great game from beyond the veil. Those who have been observing your unprecedented development with great interest. She circled me slowly, like a predator examining prey. Infinite mana, reality manipulation, the power of a god compressed into mortal flesh. You are an anomaly, Kale, a glitch in the system of existence itself. You're from the East, I realized, from whatever's destroying those nations. Not from, but aware of. She stopped circling. What's coming cannot be stopped by conventional means. Your kingdom's preparations are meaningless. Their archmages are children playing with matches. When the convergence arrives, everything you know will be rewritten. The convergence? The merging of realities. The overwriting of this dimension with another. Her ink-black eyes gleamed. It's happened countless times across countless worlds. Civilizations fall. Reality reforms. The survivors adapt. And you're here to offer me a chance to adapt? I'm here to offer you a choice. She raised a pale hand. Join the convergence willingly. Embrace the change. You have the power to survive the transition, even thrive in it. You could become a lord of the new reality, a god among the reborn. And if I refuse? Then you fight, and probably die. She shrugged elegantly. The convergence has consumed entities far older and more powerful than you. Your infinite mana is impressive by this world's standards. By the standards of what's coming, you're a candle flame facing a supernova. I processed her words. You're scared of me. She blinked. Excuse me? If I were truly insignificant, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't bother making offers. You just let the convergence consume me with everything else. I stepped toward her. But you're not sure I'll lose. You're not sure what I might become if I keep growing. So you're here to neutralize me before I become a real threat. Her smile faded. Clever boy. Tell your masters something. I let my power flare. Full strength. No suppression. The room blazed with light that had no source. Nixara stumbled back, her shadow form flickering. Tell them I don't adapt. I don't submit. I don't join. My voice echoed with harmonics that shook reality itself. I fight. And whatever they're sending, whatever cosmic horror they think can overwhelm me, I let the light intensify until she was barely visible. I'll be waiting. Nixara screamed. Actually screamed, as my power burned away layers of her shadowy form. She dissolved into darkness and fled, vanishing through whatever dimensional crack she'd arrived from. The room fell silent. I lowered my power. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from excitement. The next morning, I called a meeting. Alara and Marcus, Professor Aldrich, a few other faculty members who Aldrich trusted. I told them about Nixara's visit, about the convergence, about the choice I'd been offered and rejected. When I finished, Aldrich looked like he'd aged 10 years. They made contact, direct contact. He ran his hands through his gray hair. We suspected there was an intelligence behind the expansion, but confirmation. They're afraid of him, Alara said. That's the key point. Whatever Kale has become, it's enough to make a cosmic-level threat worried. Being worried and being defeatable are different things, Marcus countered. They called him a candle against a supernova. They were lying, I said, or exaggerating. If they were confident in victory, they'd have just waited. This recruitment attempt proves they see me as a variable, something that could disrupt their plans. So what do we do? Aldrich asked. I stood, walked to the window, looked out at the academy. Normal students going to normal classes, living normal lives, completely unaware that existence itself was under threat. We prepare, I said, but not just defensively. We go on offense. Offense how? The fallen nations, Valoran, the Confederacy, Thornwood, the Obsidian Isles. They've been consumed, but what does that actually mean? Are they destroyed, transformed? Still existing in some altered state? Alara's eyes widened. You want to investigate. I want to see what we're fighting before it reaches our borders. Understand its methods. Find weaknesses. That's suicide, Aldrich said flatly. Those territories are lost. Anyone who enters doesn't return. Normal people don't return. I turn to face them. I'm not normal. My power lets me impose my reality on external space. If they can overwrite existence, maybe I can overwrite it back. You'd go alone? I'd go fast. Scout mission. Observe, learn, return. If it's too dangerous, I pull out immediately. The room was silent. Then Marcus stood. I'm coming. Marcus, don't even try. You're not doing this alone. He grinned fiercely. Besides, someone needs to watch your back while you're busy rewriting reality or whatever. I'm coming too, Alara said quietly. My visions might be useful, and my information networks can help us reach the border territories without raising alarms. I looked at them, my friends, my allies, willing to walk into a reality-warping apocalypse zone beside me. This isn't like the tournament. We might actually die. We might actually die in 4 months anyway when the convergence arrives, Marcus said. At least this way we go out fighting. I couldn't argue with that logic. Professor, I said, can you cover for us? Make sure our absence isn't noticed? Aldrich sighed. You're asking me to let 3 students walk into certain death. I'm asking you to let 3 people who might be able to save the world do what needs to be done. He stared at me for a long moment. You have 2 weeks, he finally said. After that, I'm sending the military after you, assuming there's anything left to send. 2 weeks is plenty. I turned to Alara and Marcus. Pack light. We leave at midnight. Midnight. The 3 of us stood at the academy's eastern gate. Beyond lay the main road. Beyond that, the kingdom's border. Beyond that, territories consumed by the convergence. Last chance to back out, I said. Shut up and walk, Marcus replied. Alara just smiled. We walked. Toward the unknown. Toward the enemy. Toward the thing that had consumed over 100 million people and was coming for everyone else. I still didn't know if I could stop it. But I knew one thing for certain. When infinity meets annihilation, something has to give. And I had no intention of being the one who broke. We traveled for 3 days. The kingdom's eastern border was marked by the Ironspine Mountains, a natural barrier that had protected our nation for centuries. Ancient fortresses dotted the peaks, manned by soldiers who had no idea what they were guarding against. Beyond the mountains lay the Thornwood Kingdom, or what remained of it. The last communication from Thornwood was 6 months ago, Alara said as we climbed the final pass. A border town called Millhaven, population 8,000. They reported strange lights in the sky, then nothing. Strange lights how? Marcus asked. Wrong colors. Colors that shouldn't exist. The messenger said looking at them made his thoughts feel slippery. We reached the summit at dawn and stopped. Below us, the Thornwood Kingdom stretched toward the horizon. Except it wasn't the Thornwood Kingdom anymore. Gods preserve us, Marcus whispered. The landscape was wrong. Not destroyed, not burned, just wrong. The forest still stood, but the trees were twisted at impossible angles. Rivers flowed uphill. Mountains floated in the air, inverted, their peaks pointing toward the ground. The sky itself was fractured, showing different times of day in different patches. Dawn here, midnight there, a sunset bleeding into a thunderstorm bleeding into a starless void. And everywhere, geometric patterns. Perfect circles carved into hillsides. Triangular formations of standing stones that definitely hadn't existed before. Spirals etched across fields like crop circles designed by mad mathematicians. It's not destruction, Alara breathed. It's replacement. They're literally rewriting the physical laws of this region. I extended my spiritual perception, tried to sense life, mana, anything familiar. What I found made my stomach turn. The mana here was corrupted, not dark magic, not demonic energy, something else entirely. It operated on principles that my mind couldn't quite grasp, like trying to understand a language that used sounds humans couldn't hear. 8,000 people lived in Millhaven, I said quietly. I can sense fragments, echoes. They're not dead. Then where are they? Merged with the landscape, with the patterns. They've been integrated into whatever new reality is being imposed here. Marcus gripped his sword. Can we save them? I don't know. Honest answer. Only answer I had. Let's keep moving. Stay close. If you feel anything strange, anything at all, tell me immediately. We descended into the convergence zone. Walking through converted territory was like walking through a fever dream. Gravity shifted randomly. Sometimes we walked normally. Sometimes we had to climb along what should have been flat ground because down had decided to become sideways. Time stuttered. We'd take a step and suddenly an hour had passed. Or we'd walk for what felt like days and find only minutes had elapsed. The worst part was the whispers. Not audible whispers. Mental ones. Thoughts that weren't ours, pressing against our minds. Offering to explain. Offering to help us understand. Offering to make the confusion stop if we just open up and let the convergence in. I kept absolute territory active at maximum range, creating a bubble of stable reality around us. It helped. Mostly. Alara had gone pale. Her prophetic visions were apparently in overdrive, showing her countless possible futures all at once. She walked with her eyes half closed, murmuring fragments of what she saw. The spiral consumes. The light divides. He stands at the center of all things. Marcus kept his hand on his sword, flames flickering around his fingers. Ready to fight, desperate to fight, anything to feel useful against an enemy that couldn't be punched. We found Millhaven by midday, or what was left of it. The town still existed, buildings stood, streets remained, but everything was covered in those geometric patterns. Lines of light that pulsed with alien energy, tracing routes that seemed to follow some incomprehensible logic. And the people, they were still there, frozen in place, mid-action. A woman reaching for a door handle, a child playing with a ball, an old man feeding birds. But they weren't people anymore. Their bodies had been converted, flesh replaced with something crystalline, translucent. I could see light flowing through them like blood through veins. They're still alive, Elora said, her voice hollow. I can see their consciousness, trapped, aware, unable to move or speak or die. Can we free them? She shook her head. They're load-bearing now, part of the pattern. If we removed them, the local reality would collapse entirely. 8,000 people, turned into living batteries for an alien reality engine. I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Rage. Pure, burning rage. Spread out, I ordered. Look for anything that might tell us how this works. Any central control point, any weakness. We searched the frozen town. Marcus found records in what had been the town hall. Journals from the final days, describing the arrival of angels who promised transcendence. Alara found a temple where the geometric patterns were densest. The priests had willingly undergone conversion, believing they were ascending to a higher plane. and I found the hub. At the center of town, where the market square had been, stood a structure that hadn't existed before. A spire of pure crystal, rising 50 meters into the fractured sky. Light pulsed within it, power radiated from it. This was the anchor point, the device maintaining the converted reality in this region. And standing before it was a figure, humanoid, tall, composed entirely of interlocking geometric shapes that shifted and rearranged constantly. Where a face should have been, there was a void, a perfect circle of absolute nothing. Convergence architect level? Type reality engine. Status hostile. It turned toward me. You. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Inside my head, outside my ears, vibrating through my bones. You are the anomaly, the error that should not exist. I get that a lot. The architect tilted its head. The geometric shapes comprising its body shifted faster. Your existence is a paradox. The system should not have allowed such a glitch. Infinite growth, exponential power. These things violate the fundamental mathematics of reality. And yet here I am. Yes, it took a step toward me. Here you are, walking into our territory, challenging our work. Do you understand what you're facing, little anomaly? Enlighten me. The convergence is not an invasion, it is an optimization. Your reality is chaotic, inefficient, filled with suffering and entropy. We are streamlining it, perfecting it. Every consciousness integrated into the pattern experiences eternal peace. Every variable is balanced, every equation is solved. They're not at peace, they're trapped. Perspective. The architect waved a geometric hand dismissively. You perceive stasis as imprisonment because you still cling to temporal existence. Once you join the pattern, you'll understand. There is no time, no change, no loss, only perfect, crystalline eternity. Hard pass. You don't have a choice. It attacked. I'd faced powerful enemies before. Darren with his pathetic wind magic. The training dummies at the academy. Even Nixara with her shadow manipulation. This was different. The architect didn't cast spells. It altered reality itself. The ground beneath me inverted, becoming sky. I fell upward, then sideways, then in directions that shouldn't exist. Gravity became a weapon, a maze, a torture device. I activated absolute territory at full power. My bubble of stable reality collided with its field of conversion. The impact shattered windows for miles. We pushed against each other. My will versus its mathematics. My infinity versus its optimization. Impressive. The architect's voice carried a note of surprise. You can maintain your own reality field. That explains how you survived this long. I can do a lot more than maintain. I pushed harder. My territory expanded, inch by inch, foot by foot. The converted reality retreated before me like shadows before light. The architect shrieked. Not pain, indignation. This is not possible. You are a single entity. We are the culmination of 1,000 realities. 1,000 optimizations. You cannot. I can. I pushed with everything I had. The crystal spire cracked. The geometric patterns on the ground began to flicker. And then, the architect revealed its true form. It shed the humanoid shape like a snake shedding skin. What emerged was vast, a tangle of impossible geometry that extended into dimensions I couldn't perceive. Eyes that weren't eyes opened across its surface. Mouths that weren't mouths spoke words in languages that predated existence. True form revealed. Convergence Architect Apex Entity. Level 8. Warning. Threat level equivalent to user. Infinite. It was infinite too. Just like me. You see now, it said with 1,000 voices. We are the same. Anomalies. Glitches. Beings that should not exist within normal parameters. We're nothing alike. We are exactly alike. The entity pressed against my territory. You were created by the same error that created us. The same flaw in the system's mathematics. The same paradox that allows infinity to exist within finite boundaries. My blood went cold. What are you talking about? You think your glitch was random? Laughter echoed through dimensions. Nothing is random, everything is calculated. You were meant to exist, little anomaly. Meant to grow, meant to become exactly what you are. Why? Because the system needed a failsafe, a reset button, an entity capable of overriding the overriders. The architect loomed closer. We have consumed 1,000 realities, optimized them, perfected them. And in every single one, eventually, someone like you appears. A glitch designed to oppose us. Designed by who? By the system itself. The fundamental mathematics of existence. It creates us to optimize, and it creates you to stop us. An eternal cycle. Balance maintained through conflict. I processed this. My power wasn't an accident. It was a countermeasure, built into the fabric of reality itself. I was literally designed to fight cosmic optimization engines. Why are you telling me this? Because knowing changes nothing. You cannot defeat us permanently. Even if you destroy this form, even if you liberate this region, We will simply reconverge elsewhere. Just as you, if destroyed, would eventually be replaced by another glitch. Then why fight at all? Because it's what we do. The architect's voice held something like resignation. You fight to preserve chaotic reality. We fight to optimize it. Neither of us can truly win. But we must fight anyway. It is our purpose. It attacked again. This time with everything. The battle lasted hours. Or seconds. Time had no meaning in the collision of two infinite forces. We tore through dimensions. Shattered planes of existence. Created and destroyed realities with every blow. I used abilities I hadn't known I possessed. Temporal manipulation. Dimensional severing. Conceptual attacks that targeted the idea of the architect rather than its physical form. It countered with mathematics. Pure logic that tried to define me, limit me, reduce me to variables that could be solved. Neither of us could land a killing blow. Because we were equals. Two sides of the same cosmic coin. But I had something it didn't. Rage. Rage for the 8,000 people frozen in Millhaven. Rage for the 100 million consumed across 4 nations. Rage for everyone who would be lost if I failed. And rage, I discovered, was a force that mathematics couldn't calculate. You're supposed to be optimal, I growled, pressing my attack. Pure logic, perfect efficiency. I am. Then why do I feel sorry for you? The architect hesitated. Sorrow is inefficient. Sorrow is human. I slammed my power into its core. Rage is human. Hope and fear, and love and hate, all the messy, chaotic, inefficient emotions you want to optimize away. That's what makes us worth saving. The architect screamed. I found its weakness. Not a physical flaw. Not a logical error. A conceptual gap. It couldn't understand emotion. Couldn't model irrationality. Couldn't predict actions driven by feelings rather than calculations. And I was nothing but feelings right now. I let the rage consume me. Let it fuel my power. Let it become a weapon that infinity couldn't counter. Judgment. I spoke the word and reality obeyed. Light erupted from my body. Not normal light. Not even magical light. Something deeper. Something that carried the weight of purpose, of meaning, of everything the convergence wanted to eliminate. The architect dissolved. Not destroyed. Dissolved. Broken down into component mathematics and scattered across dimensions. It would reform eventually. Maybe centuries from now. Maybe millennia. But for now, it was gone. The converted reality collapsed. Not violently. Gently. Like ice melting in spring. The geometric patterns faded. The crystal spire crumbled. The fractured sky began to heal. And the people, the crystalline shells cracked, fell away, revealed flesh beneath. I watched as the woman reaching for the door handle finally opened it, as the child finally caught his ball, as the old man finally finished feeding his birds. They didn't remember. Their minds had been protected during conversion, but the experience itself was gone. Small mercy. I collapsed. Marcus and Alara found me lying in the market square, surrounded by 8,000 confused citizens who had no idea what had happened. Kale. Marcus dragged me upright. Are you okay? What happened? We saw lights and explosions and I won. You won? Against what? Against infinity. I laughed weakly. Then I passed out. I woke 3 days later in the academy's infirmary. Alara sat beside my bed, dark circles under her eyes. Welcome back. How long? 3 days. We carried you back to the kingdom. Professor Aldrich handled the political fallout. She paused. There's been developments. What kind? The convergence has accelerated its timeline. When you destroyed the architect, you didn't just liberate Millhaven, you disrupted their expansion network across all 4 fallen nations. They're panicking. That's good. No, it's not. She stood, walked to the window. They're not waiting 4 months anymore. They're coming now. All of them. Every architect. Every converted reality. Every infinite horror in their collective. My blood ran cold. When? 2 weeks. Maybe less. She turned to face me. The kingdom is mobilizing. Every archmage. Every battle mage. Every soldier. But it won't be enough. You know it won't. I sat up despite my body's protests. Then I'll have to be enough. You can't fight them alone. I won't be alone. I met her eyes. I'll have you, Marcus, Aldrich, everyone who's willing to stand. Against infinite enemies. Against any enemies. I swung my legs off the bed. The architect told me something. My power isn't a glitch. It's a failsafe, built into reality itself to counter threats like the convergence. You were designed for this. Yes, and I'm done running, done hiding, done pretending to be normal. I stood. My power surged through me, stronger than ever. In 2 weeks, the end of the world arrives at our border. I walked toward the door. Let's go give them a proper welcome. The war room was chaos. Generals shouting, archmages arguing, maps covered in red markers showing enemy positions. Everyone terrified, everyone desperate. I walked in, and everything stopped. They knew who I was now, the tournament champion, the Infinity Mage, the one who'd walked into Convergence territory and walked back out. The king himself rose from his throne. Kale, we've been waiting for you. Your Majesty. They tell me you fought one of those things, that you won. I bought us time, that's all. Can you do it again? Can you save us? The entire room held its breath. I looked at the maps, at the red markers, at the terrified faces of the most powerful people in the kingdom. Then I smiled. I'm not going to save you. Gasps, outrage, fear. I'm going to teach you to save yourselves. I raised my hand. Power flowed out, filled the room, filled everyone in it. The Convergence thinks they're facing one infinite anomaly. They're wrong. They're facing a kingdom, a people, a species that refuses to be optimized away. My power touched each person, awakening something dormant within them. They want to rewrite reality? Fine, we'll write it back. Together. Across the kingdom, in every city, every village, every remote hamlet, people felt it. The spark of potential, the possibility of more. And in 2 weeks, when the Convergence arrived expecting to face one impossible glitch, they would find 1 million of them,